Okay, welcome to Live 9 Recording Audio and Audio Effects. My name is Bill Burgess. If you've been waiting for this tutorial for some time, pre-purchased it, my apologies. I've been extremely busy, but glad to get in here and do this for you now. All right, audio interfaces are basically a discussion of three things. Basically, I could record, put a microphone into my machine, headphones out, and record right into Ableton. That would be the built-in audio interface. And all I would have to do then is tell Ableton, hey, use the built-in interface. And by the way, tell Ableton and monitor out of the built-in ports. So using audio interface, setting up an audio interface is just quite the same actually. Most interfaces are either FireWire 400 or 800. Most machines come out FireWire 800, and most interfaces are 400. A lot of new interfaces are USB 2, and there's also some USB 3 interfaces. All that means is this is how the pipe that we're getting our data to and from. From what? From the sound of my voice, which is coming in through a mic line or a mic pre or a line input, going into the machine, going through Ableton, being recorded, and then going back out through Ableton through these headphones. It's literally quite that simple. So when we go to set up an audio interface, no matter what it is, those three things need to be in agreement. Now this will go real easy for most of you, and some of you are going to struggle. And the reason is that there's a thing called class compliant device. If you have an interface and you plug it in and it immediately comes up in your computer preferences under the sound tab, like this one does here, the one I'm using, which is a Profire, then it's called a class compliant device. It doesn't need any other drivers for the computer to see it. If you don't see your interface, you're going to have to go to the interweb and download drivers so that your OS and your machine can see your interface. And invariably, with whatever interface you use, will come a small applet. I'm using a M-Audio Profire here, not because it's my favorite. It's not. The one that I love to use most is called an Orpheus by Prism Sound, but it's on another job right now. And besides, that's a quite professional interface, and this is a little bit more what most of us will be running into. Okay, so this is my little software for my Profire. You can hear my voice through microphone 1 because I've got it plugged into mic 1. And if I mute this, you will not hear me anymore, and so forth and so on, just like that. Okay, so I have what? I have my computer seeing the Profire. I have the Profire channel on. It's not muted, just like that. I see levels at my Profire, and I need to then get Ableton to agree with that as well. It's easy. Command comma will give me the preferences. Go to the audio tab, and right now it's set for my initial built-in microphone and built-in headphone out. So I can go in here and say, oh, there's the Profire. It just comes right up. And once I do, I can go immediately and see that. Now you notice I just set the input. The output is still going to the computer built-in outs. I can go to any channel then here, hit the I/O, and you can see my voice on channel 1 just like it is on the Profire. If I physically change the input to channel 2, then I would be required to change it there, okay, on the I/O section. Same thing can be done here in the session view as well, okay, as long as this I/O is on. All right, so outputs, if I were to select my outputs, I can go and now I would be able to output whatever clips and sound out of the Profire. Now in Ableton, I can configure these inputs And read this carefully. Every time I add an input, it adds to the CPU load. But if I was doing, drums and I wanted 6 mono mics, I would do all these. If I was just doing 3 keyboards or something, I would just change it to the stereo, just like so. Okay, so I can configure the inputs. I can configure the outputs. Same thing, okay? Ins and outs. It's literally quite that easy. There's one other thing. It's called the audio MIDI setup. It'll be in my recent items, but it'll be under your utilities folder. And it's basically this guy here. And what this does is allow deeper integration to figure out exactly what interface is being used. So you remember built-in microphone, built-in output from the system preferences. Well, here I can select the profile. I can select what we'll be talking about in the next video, which is sample rate. Okay, and input and outputs, I can figure out which clock source I want. And a little thing here is that if I were to want the computer to use my outputs, say I can't do it right now because you'd stop hearing my voice, but record through the profile but output through the built-in, I can just right-click it and say use this device for sound output. Okay, and you can do the same thing for all of them. I can just say use this device for sound output. If I were to do right-click and say, up here, use this device for sound input, you would stop hearing my voice because I'm recording through the microphone. Okay, so what it is a right-click, use device, okay, and it's substituted by these icons. If I'm going to do configure device, it will literally pull up this applet, and it'll do that for any interface. Okay, so these are called class-compliant audio interfaces. In the next video, we're going to talk about sample rate and bit depth.